Shadows of Shibuya, Letters from Home, Part 3. April 6, 1945. The 10 men of the law crew would have been in a prisoner of war camp in Japan for 5 days at this point. Memorandum for the President. An OSS representative has transmitted the following information, reportedly sent to the Vatican on 6 April by Lorenzo Tatewaki Toda, the apostolic delegate in Yokohama. Tatewaki Toda, who is a member of a Japanese princely family and related to the emperor, proposes to call on the emperor in order to comfort him with the certain hope that the Holy See will not abandon its attempt at mediation of the war in the Pacific. Tatewaki Toda believes that the present is the most favorable moment to conquer the intransigence of the extreme militarists in the interests of a peaceful solution to the war. He promises as soon as possible to send the Holy See a set of conditions which it may judge acceptable to the Anglo-Americans, and he beseeches the Pope to pray that Japan's rulers may become convinced of the necessity of an honorable peace. The number of men that have been captured is increasing rapidly. Lieutenant John Jennings, Captain Elmer Hom, Second Lieutenant Eugene Redinger, Second Lieutenant Herbert Edmond, Second Lieutenant Gerald Giddings, Second Lieutenant David Gerhardt, Second Lieutenant Donald Vandaver, Sergeant Raymond Richmond, Sergeant Robert Needbaver, Sergeant Harry McMillan, Sergeant Ray Hopper, Sergeant Maurice Myers, Sergeant Thaddeus Pasternam, Sergeant Leonard McNeill. From the 883rd Bomb Squadron War Diary, the 6th of April, Group Briefing at 1630 for Mission Number 39, Target 357, the Nakajima Aircraft Engine Plant, again at Tokyo. First mission with fighter escort. April 7, 1945, Leonard and the remaining survivors of the law crew are being held at Kempi Tia headquarters near the Imperial Palace, Tokyo. Day number 6. Sergeant Ray Hopper in an interview described his first couple of days as a prisoner of war. That evening I was put into a cell with a Japanese civilian for a few days. He never spoke a single word the whole time. I was given my first meal, fish heads. I didn't eat much. Sometime later, I overheard the guards ask someone a question and recognized the voice as one of the crew members. At this time, I am not sure right now which one it was. A few days later, the guards took me out of the cell to a building called the Pig Pen. This was a wooden building with 6 cells, wood pegged, no nails or screws, where I joined 4 of my flight crew members. I was assigned to the same cell for 3 or 4 days, and 5 more of my crew members were in the adjoining cell. These cells had no light table or chairs, only a toilet in the back corner. We were not supposed to talk, but we did. I learned that the flight engineer was the last to bail out of the front, and seconds later, the aircraft exploded. He said the nose gear had to be hand-cranked to the down position before the 6 members in the front could bail out due to an electrical malfunction from being hit with enemy ordnance. He told me that Law was still in the pilot's seat when he left the aircraft. Law stayed with the B-29Z-11 as the crew jumped from the burning aircraft. Being close to my crew members was a real joy, but it was short-lived. Melba writes a letter to Leonard.
Darling, wherever you are tonight, you must know I'm thinking of you. All day you have been in my thoughts. Maybe it's because I'm so worried about you. I haven't had a letter since the first of the week and I'm scared. If anything should happen to you, I will never get over it. I don't guess I should ever try and write you tonight feeling like this. Honey, have you heard Just a Prayer Away? It's so pretty. I would like to have it for our Victrola. We have on the juke at the store. Mr. Sweetman was in and had a sandwich today. He says he hasn't heard from you lately, that you owe him a letter. I just wrote the rationing board to see if I can get some more gas. I'm going to close now because I feel a good long cry coming on. Please, if you are all right, write to me often.
Just a prayer away. the voice of Billy Williams, and the voices of the K Choir. There's a happy land somewhere, and it's just a prayer away. All I've dreamed and planned is there, and it's just a prayer away. Where the skies look down on a friendly town filled with laughing children at play, where my heart will sing, for it means one thing: I'll be home at the close of each day. There's a happy land somewhere, and it's just a prayer away.
April 7th. On this date, the 73rd Bomb Wing carried out a daylight precision strike on Target 357, the Nakajima aircraft engine plant in Musashino near Tokyo. This was the 10th attack on this important target. The 500th Bomb Group contributed only 10 planes to this mission, all from the 883rd Squadron. This would be the first mission by the B-29s with long-range P-51 fighter escort from Iwo Jima. The 73rd Wing reduced the bombing altitudes, hoping that the P-51s would allow the bombers to get through at these lower levels and finally destroy this important target. 2 aircraft were lost over the target, one from the 499th and one from the 500th, the B-29, named Adam's Eve. The following are accounts from witnesses. Lieutenant Georg C. Marek saw the airplane disintegrate and fall clear to the ground, with the fuselage reaching the ground before the left wing. Lieutenant Ewald Goring saw 3 parachutes open near Choshi Point. Lieutenant O.B. Jenkins, whose aircraft was covering the crippled aircraft, saw parachutes open after the crippled aircraft had disintegrated. Lieutenant Landon H. Cullum, Jr. saw 4 men bail out of the crippled aircraft before it disintegrated but did not see the parachutes open. Sergeant Merrick and Sergeant Meager of the 499th will be captured and held with Leonard and the other men at Kempi Tia headquarters, Tokyo. Mr. Robert Castle was on this mission. The crew he was with flew the B-29A Square 44. He provides his recollection of watching a B-29 being rammed, as well as he commends the first P-51 escort as a good thing. Robert Castle writes, "Frightening.
The target is Tokyo again, number 357. We are in B-29, a Square 44. The fly time 16 hours. This raid was unique in many ways. It was the first time we've hit Tokyo in daylight at 12 o'clock noon, and also the first time we have had fighter escort over Japan. Thank God they were there, as it would have been another one like the 27th raid if they hadn't been along. It was really something to see them with us, and the tactics they used in knocking fighters off, and they really knocked them off. Those boys deserve all the credit we can give them, and thank God they are on our side. They knocked fighters down before they knew what happened. The flak was very accurate and heavy, and we had about 15 holes in us. Also 2 or 3 bullet holes from enemy aircraft. The fighters that did get through didn't seem to press their attacks after the first pass. However, they rammed a couple. Cardone's had 12 holes and his tail was knocked off, and I saw 129 go down by being rammed. Several phosphorus bombs were seen but were ineffective. And now the target. We finally got the son of a bitch, and it really looked good to see it go up. We carried 5 blockbusters, and Duffy really laid them in. We were lead crew for the wing, and the stash really did a fine job. We helped navigate one P-51 back, but it was little compared to what they did for us. I sure hope they can develop this coordination work and things will be a lot easier. If they could reduce the flak, and thank God again for our safe return. Our longest mission yet, 16 hours. Photo shows only part of target gone, so we may have to go back. I hope not. Cardone's crew landed at Iwo OK and are finally back here.
April 7th, Sergeant Otto Merrick and April 7th, Sergeant John Meager both survived the horrific experience and are now special prisoners. April 8th, 1945, day number 7, Kempi Tia Headquarters, Tokyo. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill would have been held in the pig pen area along with the other 9 crew members and several other airmen. One of the men he was with is named Sergeant John Meager, 499th Bomb Group, the 878th Squadron, tail gunner, with 2nd Lieutenant Hibbard's crew. Uncle Jack as he was referred to by his nieces. John had enlisted while he was a senior in high school. He became a tail gunner and was part of a replacement crew that went to Saipan about the same time as Leonard. John's aircraft went down April 7th while attacking target 357. April 9th, 1945, Melba wrote to Sergeant Leonard James McNeill. Melba explains, "Uncle Clarence has died of a heart attack. Her mother and aunt are having a very hard time dealing with the loss. Difficulties for a mother with 3 children. Leonard is held for the 10th day as a special prisoner in a dungeon at Kempi Tia headquarters in downtown Tokyo, across the moat from the Imperial Palace." Melba writes,
Dear Leonard, while I was looking over some of your letter, I just noticed the sergeant, and I'm so proud of you, but don't you think you could have told me, because you know how I never notice ratings. My Uncle Clarence died Saturday in Jacksonville. I don't know if you ever saw him or not, but I know you remember us talking about him. Mother was up there with B, who had an operation when it happened. It was a heart attack. They are bring the body back to Orlando to bury. The funeral is to be at 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Grandmother and mother will be in tomorrow night. B of course cannot come as she is in the hospital. Grandmother is taking it pretty hard and has gone all to pieces. She may not be able to make the trip. The car started doing the same way again this afternoon. It has been okay for a week. I am so disgusted. It looks like no one knows what's wrong. I have had more trouble with it lately. Saturday morning I could not find the keys and never have. I had to have a man go out to the house and make one. Cost me $2.50. Dorothy, Jimmy and I had lunch at Sramsor's today. And then went to a show. Of course, I had to leave before I got to see it all. But it was good anyway. Love, Melba.
From the 500th Bomb Group Operations Journal, the 73rd Bomb Wing had felt the need to establish a wing school for new crews. This involved at present 6 days of classroom instruction, known as ground school, followed by 4 practice missions to points around the Mariana Islands. April 10th, 1945, day number 9, that Leonard is held as a special prisoner along with the other crew members of the Z-Square 11. They are near the Imperial Palace, Tokyo, Japan. Melba writes a letter to Leonard.
I think it's a grand idea, Leonard, because someday I really believe you might be able to write a book. Dear Leonard, I was out to Mother's for supper tonight, and afterwards Mother and I went down to look at Clarence. He looks very natural, has a little smile on his face. His neck is very full, but the undertaker said that was because he died of a heart attack. One hand looks funny. I think he may have had a stroke, so maybe it was just as well that he did die. Edward and Louise' grandmother and Gladys, Daddy's sister, are here. Virginia Fay is also here. That's his daughter. She's about 12 years old. The car cost me $8.50 today, but I guess that will be all. They pulled the gas tank off and washed it out good. They found all kinds of ration stuff in it. Since I have had this trouble with it, I have paid out $23.50. If I catch Jimmy anywhere near it again, I'll choke him. I went down and paid my red tickets. I really got a bargain. 2 red tickets for $1. They let me off on one. 2 cases of chicken pox broke out today in the nursery today, so I'm holding my breath for fear the kids will get it. I believe Dorothy has already had it once, but Jimmy hasn't. I looked at a few places for your 5-year diary today, but didn't find one yet. I think it's a grand idea, Leonard, because I think someday I really believe you might be able to write a book. I know you're laughing, but some of your letters are very interesting. Love, Melba.
Their second day in wing school was more challenging for the crew of the squadron. Almost everything they were taught was different than what they had learned in training in the States, leaving Flight Engineer Myron Locke's head in a whirl, comparing to just 1 month earlier when your training was the mission. April 11, 1945. Leonard and several other B-29 crew members are being held in brutal conditions near Target 357. This target has more anti-aircraft batteries protecting it than any other target in Japan. The 500th Bomb Group, day by day. Briefing held for mission Target 357. Again, you can almost hear the combat crews mutter. According to Second Lieutenant Don Weber, co-pilot on the Haas crew of the 882nd Squadron, the briefing was held at 1500 hours. In preparation, Sergeant Willie Green installed new gun barrels on Z-28, April 11, 1945. Memorandum for the President. The following is a resume of the first talk between Myron Taylor and Harada Ken, Japanese ambassador to the Holy See, as reported by Vessel. Harada declared that Japanese elements desirous of peace are not responsible for the Pacific War, and that those elements might be able to make their will felt if the Anglo-Americans would offer acceptable terms. Taylor reminded Harada that American public opinion still remembers the unprovoked attack on Pearl Harbor. He promised, however, to initiate a friendly investigation of the possibilities for negotiation. Taylor and Harada agreed that the terms of the two belligerent groups, as they knew them, were too far apart to permit negotiations. Harada stated that the United States' chief war aim apparently was a victory that would give Japanese pacifist elements ascendancy over the military and prevent any future militarist aggression. He added that Japan was exhausted by the war she has been fighting since 1937 and that she needs a long period of peace. 11 April 1945, April 12, 1945, 11 days as a prisoner, being held at Kempi Tia headquarters, Tokyo, Japan. Leonard and several other B-29 airmen are being kept as special prisoners near Target 357, special prisoners waiting trial for killing civilians. On this date, for the 11th time, the 73rd Bomb Wing went back to Target 357, the Nakajima aircraft engine plant in Musashino near Tokyo. This was a daylight, high-altitude precision strike. The 500th Bomb Group scheduled 30 combat aircraft for this mission. The planes were organized into 3 combat squadrons. President dies April 13, 1945. Melba writes, I suppose you heard about Roosevelt's death as soon as we did.
Dear Leonard, Mr. Sweetman was in and asked about you the other day. I told him I had that paper I wanted him to see. He was back today and asked if I had it. I had not gotten it from Daddy yet, but told him I would. I had to stop twice already and stop the kids from fighting. I suppose you heard about Roosevelt's death almost as soon as we did. It was such a shock to everyone. It made me feel so funny when I first heard about it. I'm out at Doris's tonight. She wanted to take her mother to supper club, so I said I would come out and keep the kids for her. I'm waiting for an answer to the letter I sent Easter Sunday. I figured that 7 days to go and 7 days to get an answer should make it around the 14th. I heard all furloughs have been canceled on account of Roosevelt's death. I guess it will cause a lot of changes. I'm so lonesome tonight. Just before dark I was really blue and down in the dumps. It's bedtime now, so maybe I can go to sleep and forget it all. Today is Friday the 13th, but I don't guess I had any special bad luck. Grandmother is going to stay about 3 weeks. B is coming a week from tomorrow. Love, Melba.
On the night of 13-14, April the 21st, Bomber Command sent 348 bombers from all three of its wings, 73rd, 313th, and 314th, on an incendiary raid on the Tokyo Arsenal area of Tokyo. The 500th Bomb Group contributed 29 aircraft to this mission. Mr. Robert Castle writes in his personal notepad his account of this mission. Robert's notes have been provided from his son Jeff. Robert writes,
This was a very easy mission for us, but 6 from wing are lost. The target is Tokyo, and our fly time 14 hours. We loaded up into the B-29 a square 48 and took off. This was another incendiary raid on Tokyo. This time we went in the northern part where the arsenals are. We didn't have any flak, fighters or searchlights, although we saw a lot of each. The bombing was damn good, and we saw several big explosions as we pulled away from the target. Very easy mission for us, but 6 from the wing were lost.
Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, along with several other B-29 airmen, are being held as special prisoners in Kempi Tia headquarters near the Imperial Palace, Tokyo. On this night, 6 B-29s went down in the target area. The following names are the men that would join Leonard in the pig pen. First Lieutenant Alpheus Carl, Second Lieutenant Andrew Litz, Technical Sergeant Jim Verhines, Staff Sergeant Lawrence Duffy, Corporal Darwin Muller, Corporal Calvin Raymond, PFC Edwin Lund, Lieutenant Colonel Doyne Turner, Staff Sergeant Alfred McNamara, Staff Sergeant Irvin Ellingson, Staff Sergeant Chester Johnson, Sergeant William Sutherland, Second Lieutenant Fisk Hanley, Second Lieutenant Eugene Redinger, Second Lieutenant Herbert Edmond, Second Lieutenant Gerald Giddings, Second Lieutenant David Gerhardt, Second Lieutenant Donald Van de Veer, Technical Sergeant Raymond Richmond, Sergeant Robert Ned, Sergeant Harry McMillan, Sergeant Ray Hopper, Sergeant Morris Myers, Sergeant Thaddeus Pasternak, Sergeant Leonard McNeill, Sergeant Otto Merrick, Sergeant John Meager. April 14, 1945, 13 days. After Leonard was taken prisoner by the Kempi Tia, several other B-29 airmen also find themselves in the same horrifying situation. Interrogation, no helpful medical attention, very little food and water. Described as special prisoners, waiting trial for murder of civilians. The 2 nights of bombing have damaged another 10.7 square miles of Tokyo, burned out. From the 881st Bomb Squadron War Diary, 11 planes raided Tokyo fire raid, returned safely, slight damage. 1 plane raided Japan weather strike, returned safely, no damage. April 15, 1945. On the night of 15-16 April, the 73rd Bomb Wing put up 120 bombers for an incendiary attack against the urban area of southern Tokyo and adjacent Kawasaki. The 500th Bomb Group scheduled 33 aircraft for this mission. The mission report shows 7 B-29s lost. The surviving crews of 3 of these aircraft would be brought to Kempi Tia headquarters near the Imperial Palace in Tokyo. The following men, Staff Sergeant Alan Hill, Sergeant Noel Beck, 2nd Lieutenant Harvey Glick, 2nd Lieutenant Harold Nelson, 2nd Lieutenant James Reinhardt, Corporal Gene Schwartz. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill is being held along with these men and several others. April 16, 1945, Melba writes to Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, "Please write me more often. Just to know you are safe is what counts."
Dear Leonard, Mr. Sweetman came into the store for the third time about that paper. I had it with me this time. He said it was very nice. He is wondering why you do not write him. I told him it has been a week since I had heard. I'm enclosing a health check on the kids from the nursery. You can see there's not much difference in the two of them. They both seem to be in pretty good health, but Jimmy has another one of those colds. They worry me so. He got it last cold spell we had. I carried Dorothy out to San Lando Springs yesterday. Misty, a girl from the store, went with us. She is my age and has 2 children, 8 and 9 years old. Mother kept Jimmy because I am afraid to take him swimming anymore. He is not at all afraid and goes over his head, and it doesn't bother him at all. I looked for your diary today. I found 2 that were nice. One was light tan and I liked it best, but I'm afraid it will get awfully dirty. I'll get it as soon as I can. Please write me more often. I know it's hard to find things to write about, but just to know you are safe is what counts. Love, Melba.
The 73rd Bomb Wing Tactical Mission Report, Support for Okinawa Invasion Day, number 16, as a special prisoner, Leonard and about 30 other B-29 airmen are being held at Kempi Tia headquarters, Tokyo, as special prisoners. On this night, Sergeant Henry Young will be taken as prisoner after the B-29 he was in went down near the target area. Henry, who was known as Harry, is a fine trumpet player growing up in Amityville, New York. He performed in swing bands and has a splendid future as a band leader. Harry is scheduled to be interviewed on the Eddie Cantor radio show broadcast from Radio City, New York on April 16th. As the family was on their way to New York for the radio program, they are notified that Harry will not be able to be interviewed by the radio host. Notes from Mr. Robert Castle for THID's mission. Target Kyoto, Japan.
The target is Kyoto. Our fly time 12 hours. We are in the Dreamboat a square 47. This was the 3rd weather strike and we went to the Nagoya area. However, we had 10 Ps aboard and just picked any old target. So, we hit a factory in Kyoto. This was the first time any B-29 has hit Kyoto. We had no opposition, although it was broad daylight at 1300 to be exact. Went in at 31,000 feet and were over land 1/2 hour. Very easy mission. This, by the way, is the crew's 19th mission and 18th mainland strike. Fastest round trip to Japan yet, 11 hours 50 minutes.
From the 883rd Bomb Squadron War Diary, all crews return from mission number 43 at approximately 0730 hours. Held class in target study on target number 357, Nakajima Aircraft Engine Factory in Musashino near Tokyo. On this date, the 499th and 500th bomb groups bombed Izumi Airfield on Kyushu in support of the ongoing invasion of Okinawa. Melba writes a letter April 17, 1945.
Dear Leonard, no letter today, and that makes it over a week since I have heard from you. I made a special trip home early to see if I did have a letter from you. It rained tonight for the first time in so long. I'm hoping it will rain all night, although I don't need rain or anything to put me to sleep tonight. We were short several girls today and I worked the whole floor all day by myself. I guess I could have taken the fountain, but I need the tips. I made $3.35 in tips, but it nearly killed me to do it. The kids and I went out to Mother's for supper tonight. Someone left a ladder leaning on the garage at Mother's and Jimmy climbed on top of the garage. I had one hard time begging him to come down. Oh, honey, I'm gaining so much weight. I weigh 133 pounds. And it's all in my hips. I'm going to start taking steam baths and massages. It's supposed to take it off. Good night, darling, and write me, please. I can't help but worry when I do not hear from you. Love, Melba.
Sergeant Leonard James McNeill is a special prisoner at Kempi Tia headquarters near the Imperial Palace, Tokyo, Japan. April 18, 1945, Melba writes,
Dear Leonard, I hope you can read this, but it is hurting so for me to write. I cut my wrist on a gallon jug of orange juice that broke today. I had to go to the doctor. I have a clamp put in it. I am not supposed to use the hand for 24 hours, but I had planned on trying to go to work tomorrow, but it's so sore I don't believe I will be able to. I cut a leader or nerve is why it got so awfully sore. That was bad about Ernie Pyle death. I just saw him in the news at the show Sunday. No letter again today. I'm so worried. Mother and Daddy try to tell me you are probably where you can't write, but I'm so scared anyway. Forgive this letter for being short, but it's so hard to write with this hand hurting so. It seems like something's always happening to me. I love you, Melba.
Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, along with more than 30 other B-29 airmen, are being held as special prisoners at Kempi Tia headquarters in Tokyo, Japan. Day number 17. It is unimaginable what terrible things must have been happening to all of the men. On this date, the 21st Bomber Command again struck airfields on Kyushu, keeping up the pressure on the kamikaze units flying against U.S. ships off Okinawa. The 497th and 498th bomb groups were assigned Takiarai Airfield, while the 499th and 500th hit Izumi Airfield. This would be a night takeoff and a daylight attack. World War II war correspondent Ernie Pyle is killed at Okinawa. On this day in 1945, Pulitzer Prize-winning war correspondent Ernie Pyle was killed by Japanese machine gun fire on the island of Ishima off the coast of Okinawa. Extremely popular, especially with the average GI whose life and death he reported on. American infantrymen braved enemy fire to recover Pyle's body. Pyle had been at the London Blitz of 1941 and saw action in North Africa, Italy, France, and the Pacific. A monument exists to him to this day on Ishima, describing him simply as a buddy. The actor Burgess Meredith portrayed Ernie Pyle in the 1945 film The Story of G.I. Joe. April 19, 1945, moved from near the Imperial Palace. Sergeant Leonard James McNeill and the other airmen are moved to Tokyo Military Prison, Tokyo, Japan, on or about this date. Mr. Fisk Hanley has a recollection of an unknown number of men being taken away. In a letter from Mr. Ray Hopper, recalls details of the men being separated at Kempi Tia headquarters. From the 500th Bomb Group, 4 planes in this group flew radar recon to Nagoya, Japan. 3 of the participating crews were Thompson of the 881st and Schmidt and Klinkscales of the 883rd. Thompson flew Z-8, mission to Albuquerque, and Klinkscales flew Z-53. The ancient mariner Melba writes a letter April 19, 1945.
Darling, maybe you will get this letter. If prayers have anything to do with it, you will. I'm so worried I don't know where to turn. Mother and grandmother even talked me into going to see Mrs. Parker, the spiritualist. I don't know if she has helped or made matters worse. She said you were where you couldn't write, but I would hear within 3 weeks it would be good news. She said everything around you was black, like if you were in a deep hole. She thought you might be a prisoner or wounded, but that things were not as bad as you thought right now. Your every thought is my wife, as soon as you can let me know if any of this is true. Leonard, I know you would like it if I went to see your folks, so if they really want me, I'd like to go up there in a few months. I'll feel closer to you if I'm with your folks. I love you. I want to try so very hard to do what you want. Mrs. Parker said there is a boy that trained with you out in Texas and went over with you by the name of either George or starting with a G, and he has been killed. My wrist is much better. I'm going back to work tomorrow. I won't be able to work the fountain for some time, but maybe I can be of some help on the floor. I hope you are all right, but I don't see how I can stand not hearing for 3 weeks. Love, Melba.
This is the end of Shadows of Shibuya. Letters from Home, Part 3. Shadows of Shibuya. Letters from Home, Part 4, continues with Sergeant Leonard James McNeill, the tail gunner aboard the B-29 known as the Law Crew, arrived in Saipan on February 25, 1945, and shortly thereafter participated in the devastating fire blitz missions against Japan, targeting Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, and Kobe, with incendiary bombs that razed large portions of the industrial cities, leading to widespread destruction and significant civilian casualties. Since April 2, 1945, McNeill and around 60 other prisoners have been held at Kempi Tia headquarters in Tokyo, dubbed the Pig Pen, and later moved to Tokyo Military Prison by late April, where conditions were brutal and their fate remained uncertain. During this period, the 883rd Bomb Squadron continued a high tempo of operations with missions against Kyushu airfields, including Oita and Usa airfields, and strike missions over Tokyo, such as the attack on Tachikawa Aircraft Plant on April 23rd, where heavy casualties occurred, with many crew members losing their aircraft either to fighters or flak, and some crew members' last moments were captured through eyewitness accounts of aircraft going down under fire, often with parachutes opened and strafed by fighters. Meanwhile, Melba, Leonard's wife, penned heartfelt letters expressing her worry, love, and hope, sharing updates about her children, Jimmy, Dorothy, and their life back home, as she waited anxiously for news amid the heavy bombing activity and the realization that Leonard had been missing in action since April 2. Her correspondence reveals the emotional toll, her attempts to stay hopeful, and her love sustaining her through the terrifying uncertainty of Leonard's fate, while she also received sympathetic letters from family friends and fellow wives, all praying for the safe return of their loved ones. Media reports and official notices confirmed McNeill's status as missing in action, and family members from various states wrote to Melba, sharing their concerns, hopes, and prayers, reflecting the widespread anxiety and uncertainty faced by families of servicemen. McNeill, still a prisoner, endured brutal conditions at Tokyo prison, with some accounts suggesting a growing disgust among guards towards American captives, and others quoting Japanese officials contemplating peace talks, though Japan sought to negotiate terms that would preserve the imperial throne and avoid complete surrender, reflecting the complex wartime diplomacy. The entire narrative underscores the human cost of war, the resilience of families waiting for news, and the indomitable spirit of those who fought and suffered in silence under the shadow of death and captivity, painting a vivid, poignant picture of war from the front lines to the home front, culminating in the subdued hope that peace might soon prevail, even as the soldiers and their families grappled with separation, loss, and the ever-present specter of uncertainty.